Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I just chugged a bunch of coffee because I know this video is probably going to be really long, but easily my favorite videos to watch on YouTube, it doesn't matter if it's a booktuber or a beauty guru, whatever, are Q&A videos just because I'm a creeper and I like to know more about the people that I'm watching, but I'm under no illusions that someone wants to sit and watch 20 minutes straight of me blabbering on and on. So I divided all the questions up into categories, say school or personal or booktube. So I'll link all the timestamps down below in the description bar. So if you want to just fast forward, just watch a certain section or two, feel free. So I'm not going to answer every single question, but if I don't answer it in this video, I will reply to it in comment form where you guys asked it. So let's go ahead and get started. So by far, the most frequently asked questions had to do with school, and within that, the most question that was frequently asked was about 10 different variations of this, which Brent is asked, you mentioned somewhere that you're in grad school. How is it? What topics are you studying? So I've mentioned before that I'm working on my master's right now full-time. It's a 2-year program with an internship in between over the summer. And I've said before that I'm studying psych, but not which area of that. I'm not going to say specifically my program or what school I go to, but in short, I'm getting my master's in industrial and organizational psychology. Now, for those of you who maybe haven't studied psych or don't know a ton about it, you might be sitting there going, okay, but what is that? A lot of people have different ways of describing it, but the best way I've heard is applying psychological principles to the workplace. I will link the SIOP site down below. That is the Society for Industrial Organizational Psychology, because they have a lot of good links for describing different positions people might have and what exactly it is. When I try and describe it to some people, I think they imagine me having CEOs laying out on a couch and I'm doing therapy with them, and that's not whatsoever what it is. There's such a wide variety of jobs within this, but in short, that's what I'm studying and I'm really excited about it. I think it's a really good career that's growing rapidly. Then Steph R asked, what would be your dream job? So I would like to do internal consulting because I don't want to be traveling doing external 1 to 4 days a week. So consulting within one, say, large company, and then within that, selection is the area that I find most fascinating. Running assessment centers, things like that. You can Google what exactly that is, but yeah. So Sebka21 asks, how do you manage balancing reading and school/work? Do you ever beat yourself up for not reading more? So this was asked a bunch of different times and I have a lot to say about this. I think I might film a separate video on this. So if you guys would be interested in seeing that, let me know. And then on Instagram, I'm starting grad school and was wondering how it differs socially. Like, is it easier to make friends and have fun compared to undergrad? When you think about it, grad school, at least for a master's, it's 2 years, is such a short and very intensive period of time. So you're strung out all the time and stressed. But I think because of that, and because generally your cohort, your classes can be much, much smaller than your undergrad class, due to that, I think your studying is more intense, but also when you go out, because it's less frequent, the overall experience is just more intense and I think a lot more fruitful. It is obviously much, much harder, but just as you get older, you learn to just kind of deal with that. Kimberly's Mindstorm asked, I'm new, so you may have answered this question, but I think I already asked the first few, but she asked, do you worry about affording healthcare, housing, food? So I'm assuming you're asking in terms of once I get a job, and I specifically picked a grad program where I knew they had a really good track record of helping people with networking and really helping people to get good jobs once they graduated. So, you know, if you go to a good program, if you network, if you do well and study hard and get a decent job, hopefully I'm not gonna have to worry about any of those things, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be like the pariah. And then EK341 asked, I'm also a grad student and I'm looking for suggestions on how to keep track of all the readings we do. I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably the worst person to ask advice for in terms of doing class readings. I'm really good in terms of studying in the ways that I think I study, but in terms of doing class readings, I'm the worst basically. But what I found is most helpful for me is buying the books as ebooks and then highlighting them online and then taking just sort of broader, more simplified notes off to the side, because what I found, at least for my degree, what I actually end up really having to study for on the exams are the notes in the classrooms. And then finally, Sarah Rebecca W asked, would you recommend taking a semester or 2 off before going into grad school? So as you guys know, I took a year off. My minor is Spanish, so I went and taught English in Spain, and I am so happy that I did that because there's no other opportunity. Obviously, once I finish grad school, the idea is I'm gonna have a job. It wouldn't make sense for me to take a break after that. So if you are gonna take a break, I think it's the best time, but also if you think you might have that mentality where you know that you're not gonna have the motivation to go back to school, definitely go straight into school, but it just depends on the person. Okay, so now is probably the biggest section. A lot of people ask more personal questions. Maria asked, where are you from? I know that's so random, but I really want to know. So someone else asked if I was a military brat because they guess they could kind of pick up on that. And that is the case. I moved around a lot. I'm not specifically from a certain area. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in Maryland, Virginia, Washington State, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, but for most of my life I've lived in the Maryland, Virginia, sort of mid-Atlantic area. So Mook, I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. She says, what are your political views, especially concerning the 2016 presidential election? You're going in hard. I said you guys could ask anything and you guys did. Socially, I'm quite liberal, and then fiscally, I'm a little bit more conservative, not incredibly so, and if I had to pick a candidate, I know that he's not going to win, but the person I do like most is Rand Paul. Now, concerning a lot of social issues, he is too conservative for my taste, but I'm just saying if I had to pick someone, it would be him. But again, I don't see him winning, but you know, people like Donald Trump and just the bigger personalities tend to overshadow him, even though I think he's a lot more level-headed and realistic with his policies and his plans than a lot of other people are. Shane Murphy asks, are you a feminist? Have you heard of Emma Watson's book club? So yes to both of those. I think feminism gets a bad rap solely because people don't understand it and they think it's about saying women are better when all it's about is equality. And I know a lot of people say, well, then why don't you just say you're a humanist? You know, that's about supporting both. You can be a feminist and a humanist and a supporter of male rights and male issues as well. It's just about different paths of achieving the same goal. They all have the same goal, which is equality, which is what a lot of people unfortunately don't get. Creative Liberties asks, what is something not many people know about you from watching your channel? For example, non-bookish hobbies or personality quirks. So overall, and I'm assuming this is the case for a lot of people, I'm just, and I think I talked about this, and I'll link any videos I mention if you click the I right here. I'm just much less put together, obviously, in real life. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, because I know a lot of people are much more crazy in their videos, but I mean, this is edited. This is a, you know, structured version. So, I mean, physically, I'm more put together in front of the camera. When I talk, I'm more articulate because I can edit the errors out. So I guess those are like not negatives, but ways that I'm different. But I do think in real life, I'm much more, I was gonna say giggly, but that's not the right word, but I'm probably more lighthearted in real life and a little stranger. I'm just a little more subdued, I think, in front of the camera. Oh, and something you might know, I wore a back brace for 5-6 years throughout puberty because I have scoliosis. I just remember throughout puberty when other kids have had braces on their teeth, which I did as well, and people complaining about them, and I was like, bitch, I can't even bend over. I have a brace on basically a third of my body. Don't complain about your braces on your teeth. Serious Scientist says, do you have a particular period in history that you gravitate toward? Ever since I was little, that would definitely have to be Egypt. I had that little set with a sarcophagus, and then I think it's called canopic jars, which is what they would put all the organs into, and I just love doing that. This probably, now that I'm saying it, this probably isn't surprising, but definitely my favorite period in history. No Kidding Brainless says, since you seem to read the most horrifying thrillers and horror books, what is something you're actually afraid of? So yes, it's true, horror stuff I think I love because it doesn't scare me and I'm constantly trying to be scared, but my fears are much stranger. So I'm scared of cats, terrified, and I've lived with the nicest ones in the world. I've never had bad experiences. They just, to my core, terrify me, and I just dislike them if I'm honest. Zebra2 asks, what is your favorite thing to snack on, and do you have a favorite beer? So this isn't a snack, but my favorite snacky food for me is cheesy gordita crunches from Taco Bell. I don't know if I've said this before, but I'm not a healthy eater. That's something I really need to work on. And then do you have a favorite beer? Favorite beer, I like Killian's Red. So Howling Decorum asked a few questions, but he said, do you think you'd be more bothered about dating somebody who'd 1, slept with everybody you've ever disliked, or 2, spoken a constant whisper and didn't like to kiss? I would definitely have to choose number 1. There's always that question on, say, OkCupid, where like, would it bother you if your partner had had X number of partners in the past? And no, I don't care about anything like that. It would be strange that they happened to select everyone I disliked, but that's something I could get over, but no kissing and no whispering would be more of an issue. Devin Bomer asks, what is your favorite TV show of the moment? Probably either Making a Murderer, but I finished that, so currently probably Jessica Jones. Julie Engel asks, if you had kids someday, what names would you like for a boy or girl? So this isn't something, I'm not the type of person who really thinks about baby names or weddings or things like that, but I heard this name in the movie The Wicker Man, the original one, not the Nicolas Cage version, but it's Irish for a girl. I really like the name Maeve. Shane Peoples asks, are you single? Always, pretty much. 16 Miss Unique asks, how many serious relations have you been in and how many fun ones? I like the way you worded that. And do you think about marriage and kids? I definitely think down the line I probably will get married and have 1 or 2 kids, but right now, currently, I'm a little bit of a commitment phobe, if I'm honest. I'm 24 and I've had 1 boyfriend, and that lasted for 6 months. Actually, whenever I date someone, whether it's serious or not, that's generally how long it tends to last before I inevitably break it off. Yeah, it just feels as if I'm constantly moving after school. You know, I knew I was going to Spain, and after Spain I knew I was moving for grad school, and I know after grad school I'm gonna move for work, so I've just kind of tried hard to not get attached to anybody. And I should say, for anyone who, after I've said that, thinks I'm a dick for breaking it off with people, I've always said up front, if I've dated anybody, this isn't going to last. This is going to be casual. I think I'm good about saying that up front. But Tim Stinson asked, what kind of music do you listen to? What are some of your favorite bands, singers? So, I mean, this isn't representative of all the music I like, but my favorite singer probably of all time is Nico Case. My favorite band is probably Arcade Fire. But I also really dislike going to concerts, and I've never been to like any music festival. I'm just not super interested in, but I like listening to music. Sickles asked, despite how personal someone's love life can be, I like to hear about your favorite pizza and other foods anyway. I don't understand that question, but I think you're asking what are my favorite kinds of pizzas. So for that, I would probably have to say Chicago style out of any other style. But anyone who says, oh, it's a casserole, it's not even a pizza, fuck you. I need to calm down, I'm sorry. But for anybody who says that, you didn't even come up with saying that. Jon Stewart said that, and then once he had Chicago style pizza, he did like it. Just anybody who says they don't like Chicago style, I just have to assume they haven't had a good version of it before. But my favorite pizza I've ever had, and this is gonna seem random, Alfredo's in Sioux City, Iowa. So if you live in the Midwest, you're lucky. It's like the sauce is spicy and it's sweet, and it doesn't look that good in the picture maybe, but Okay, so now on to the book-related questions. Lindsay Stein asked, what are some of your underrated psychological thrillers? Psychological thrillers in general seem to get so popular ever since Gone Girl, so the only one I can really think of that's not popular is Dare Me, which is also young adult. Tatava, who I have to say has been watching me for probably longer than anybody else, says, hi Katie, I always want to ask about book of boyfriends. There are some book characters, you know, I'm attracted to, and it'd probably be just every single male in the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. Manic and Fear asks, do you have any book recs for people wanting to get into horror? So I have a whole video that's on my favorite horror novel recommendations, so I'll link that above, check that out. Francisco Rapallo asks, favorite author? Probably no surprise, but Gillian Flynn. Under the Radar Books, who's great, you should check out her channel. Which one of these lanes there? What are your reading habits? Music, eating, drinking, bookmarking, or dog earing, etc. I do dog ear my books. It's very rare I'll use a bookmark. I don't do that to library books, obviously, but for mine, I just don't care. And then I do no music, no food. I try drinking sometimes while reading, but that never ends well. Laura Profungus asks, what was your favorite book as a child? Cheers from Canada. Probably Ruby Holler. I read that when I was maybe 12 or 13, but it's just such a charming coming of age book about a girl who she discovers some sort of hiking trail and path, and so a lot of the book she's just scraping away the mud to unearth the stones, but it's wonderful. Mecca1069 asks, do you have a favorite place to read? Will you do an apartment tour? So my favorite place to read is my bed right there. And will I do an apartment tour? Would you guys want to see an apartment tour? If you do, maybe I will. I know people say not to do those for safety reasons because people learn the layout of where you live. So if they were to try and break in, they'd like know where you were and all your things. But I mean, it's one room, so I'm not sure how that would matter. So now on to booktube related questions. Sabrina asks, oh, it's the second one that was booktube related. What is your biggest booktube pet peeve? So if we're talking about a current one, okay, I'll just say, I know books tend to get hyped up as it is, but there are a lot of sponsored reviews popping up over the exact same book. And here's the thing, I know that the people who are doing those reviews, they're talking about a book they're genuinely interested in anyway, so I have 100% no issue with sponsored book reviews or the people doing these reviews whatsoever. So again, if anyone tries to say I'm starting to spread shit, I'm not. It just feels like my subscription box is flooded with them. But again, it's not a big pet peeve because I know I'm not interested in the book, so I just don't watch the videos and it doesn't matter. But I also don't understand people who get so upset about paid sponsored booktube reviews. Unless it overtakes the channel, I don't care. If Gillian Flynn contacted me and said, I'm gonna pay you to review my next book, I would say I'm gonna be honest, but bitch please, like 100% I would. Megan Hamby asked, do you ever get recognized by subscribers in public? Nope. Parth Patel asks, Oh, this isn't really booktube related, but oh well. When will you start writing your own book in the horror genre? So unfortunately, I don't really enjoy writing. I have to do so much of it for school. I don't know if that's what sucked the fun out of it, but yeah, I've never really written creatively or anything like that, just like to read. Dreo asks, how has being a booktuber changed your reading habits? The only way I think it's really changed it is just that I have a wider range of books that I hear about, and I'm also more likely to finish a book I don't like, simply so that I can go ahead and review it for you guys. Jordy Baby asks, what's the biggest misconception that people have about people who have more than 20,000 subscribers? See, here's the thing, it really, having 20,000, if I'm honest, doesn't feel very different than having 10,000 or everything like that, and I definitely don't have a big head about it whatsoever, just because I didn't come onto YouTube first watching booktube videos, so I know within booktube 23,000 probably seems like a lot, but you know, I watch people who have millions, so it doesn't seem huge to me. I do feel lucky because I know, again, within booktube that's a good amount to have, but yeah, my channel really doesn't even feel like it's changed that much over the past couple years or anything like that. So Mulan M asks, please tell us which booktubers have similar taste in books to yours. So always, if you're looking for people to watch, either check out my booktuber recommendations videos or just go to my main channel page and look at the people I have listed on the sidebar. The Poptimist asks, and he's also someone I would recommend, late to the party, but what is your filming setup? So I film with a Canon Rebel T3i. This was the popular YouTubing camera like half a decade ago, and I recently got it, so obviously it's much cheaper now. I think I got it on last Black Friday. And then I just film with natural light, and the snow is reflecting straight into my eyes, so if I'm really white right now or if I'm squinting, that's why. Stephen O'Brien asks, what is the name of the song that plays at the end of your videos? So that is Wallpaper by Kevin MacLeod. The Bluest Rose asks, where are your bookshelves from? Will you be filming a bookshelf tour in 2016? So that's them right there. They are from the trash. Kind of. They were my friends, and they really are, like, they sway back and forth, they're crap, but she was gonna throw them out, so I took them, spray painted them white, and then bolted it to the wall so that they wouldn't just collapse. But yeah, they're not really from anywhere. If you guys want to see a bookshelf tour, I can go ahead and do that. These are quite small. They're like 3 feet tall. I'm sitting down right now, but I can go ahead and do that. And then Jessica Fraze asks, do you ever feel pressured to read/do reviews on more popular books, specifically young adult books? I love your channel, by the way. Thanks. I used to, but I don't think I do really anymore. And specifically, I wasn't even going to talk about this. I was going to do a video on this, but then I was worried I would. But I have planned to not read any young adult in 2016. So I was going to do a video on that, but I don't know. You guys can let me know if you'd want to see that. But yeah, I don't know. But the answer to the question is right now, no. So on to the final section, which is Spain/travel questions. So Barbara asks, if you could live anywhere else in the world, where would it be? I would probably go with Germany. A lot of my family lives there, and I just adore Munich. I could really see myself living there for a year or two. Oh no, I forgot I selected this question. So Brian asks, ¿Por qué nunca has hecho un video en español? Porque puedo leer y escribir más o menos bien, pero tengo mucho miedo cuando necesito hablar. So more or less what I just said was I can read and write pretty well, but I have so much fear when I have to speak in Spanish. So yeah, it would be a train wreck, but yeah, I should probably, because that would be good practice for me. Tess Sai asks, would you like to continue polishing your Spanish, or is there any language you'd like to learn? I would rate my Spanish probably just a 5 or 6 out of 10 realistically. When I was in Spain, it was probably about a 7. But yeah, I definitely like to finish up learning my Spanish, and then I would probably learn German next. View from the Bar asks, he also recently started a channel and he's reviewing Stephen King books, so check him out. But he says, would you rather be forced to leave America and never come back, or stay here forever? So this answer might be kind of surprising, but I would probably go with the former, which is stay in America forever, which I know it's not cool to say that you like the States. The hip thing is to say it's the worst country in the world, and we definitely have our big issues. I would love to continue traveling on and off for the rest of my life. I would love to have a job where I live abroad for a year or two right after I graduate, but where I see myself settling down is probably somewhere in the northeast of the US. Whew, I'm getting so out of breath. Gabriela Avila asks, do you have any tips for traveling solo around Europe? I'm studying abroad in Spain in the spring. Oh, exciting, where? Do you recommend any cities in Spain, countries? So in terms of specific cities in Spain, my favorite city of all time is probably in Granada, which is in the south. And then if you're going up north, Santiago de Compostela is really beautiful. On Reddit, there's Reddit Solo Travel, which is a great place to check out for advice. You know, I'd recommend only couch surf, which is, you know, a free way of getting a place to sleep for the night if you're with somebody else. Don't do it alone. I did multiple times and nothing bad happened, but I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do. And I love solo travel. Some of my best experiences, some of the closest friends I've made are from solo travel. It's just so nice to just do what you want to do and not be dependent on someone else. Oh, and my favorite place I visited, one of my favorite cities in the world is probably Prague. And then finally, last question, Sarah Caldwell asks, I know you've worked while abroad, but have you had any other jobs while in school? Oh, this isn't a travel question, but I probably saw the word abroad and put it in here. So I've had a lot of strange jobs. My very first job, I was a peach farmer, so some nice manual labor. And then I was a maid, which was much harder than peach farming. I always leave a nice tip for maids when I stay at hotels now. But then while I was in school, I was a rehab technician at a physical therapy clinic during the summers. And then while I was actually in school, I was basically just doing a lot of research apprenticeships, things like that that weren't paid. And then right now I'm a graduate assistant in my grad program, which is paid. So those were all of the questions. I'm gonna go have some water because I'm so out of breath, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, if I didn't answer your question, I'm gonna try and remember to go ahead and reply to it in comment form on the video where you guys left your questions. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and I'll see you soon. Bye.